That's the bearing of the ship move?
Yes.
Oh, this looks a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely.
Can we slow down and maybe just zoom around here?
Sure. On some of these
Yeah, I would
patches
say
and-
just, yeah, sort of eyeball around here because the,
video, you want to go in
the-
and
Looks
set
a little
it?
more
I'll just move
undulating and
well, and I mean, there's certainly more of these white patches, which at the moment we're interpreting as bioturbation. And then it looks like there's just a few more things sitting around on the seafloor.
Oh, your cloud's going to catch
Oh.
up to you here.
That's me.
Zooming out.
Yeah.
So I think that this is going to be the thing we take with us from this dive. There is a lot of sediment down here. And we should also mention that that orange coloring is very, very characteristic of
Here comes a
an
couple
iron
rocks, like you
precipitate.
said, right in front of you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to shake off up here.
Our ship move is completed, though, so we are standing still as far as ship.
Good.
Yeah, and ships the moves, since the moves
So we got a
completed,
few
you've
more
got that in
crinoids.
front of me, it seems like you haven't really been flying forward
And
too
something
much.
between them.
But I've been watching
And
very carefully.
what was that? Is that like a salp or something, or a siphonophore?
so there's something floating in the water column,
Yeah, you could
just
sort
in
of
front of us to the left.
Outlined by the dust.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Should we zoom in on those crinoids, though?
Sure.
Because it looks like
Let's
there's
do a
something
quick-
else between
Can
them.
we do a snap zoom on the crinoids, please?
Yeah. Let me just back up a little. Okay, video. You can zoom on these guys.
Zooming in. Holding.
Oh, no, it was just a white patch of sand behind them. What have they found to sit on?
Oh, and a really big anemone. Well, Ceranthid.
And another one of those fish.
Look at the current right there.
Wow, the current is hooning it here.
Well, I think we have an answer to our, is there a current down here? Very definitely, yes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, now it's going.
It's interesting that these crinoids have found
south.
one small solid thing to sort of attach themselves to and be successful in such a hard environment.
It looks like a it looks like a
think I have any
Ceranthid
more
anemone, which is a
serum.
tubed anemone.
ACN?
No, CER.
Alright, we can go wide video.
Zooming out.
Now I want to zoom my sonar in. We'll find the closest rock.
You might need to move Sierra slightly. I don't know. What's your camera angle, Copilot?
6
This is Patty in the ECC in Hawaii. I'm a marine geologist, and although, yeah, there's a lot of sediment here and a few rocks, which is what I'm mostly interested in, I'm fascinated by the dunes right here. They're not
Mhm.
very
Is the
big.
target.
They're
Well,
actually
it looks like your
ripples,
nearest
but
one
they're
is
star-shaped,
maybe 10
which
meters,
indicates
45 degrees to
currents
port.
coming from variable
Right, but they're
directions.
just there in
A little
general.
earlier on, we saw
Yeah, I mean, they're
longitudinal
gonna start
dunes that
coming in
indicated
around
currents
that distance.
perpendicular to the
And then
length
straight ahead,
of
they're
the
more
dunes.
like
But if you look
15
at the
meters.
seafloor right now, they are certainly sort of what's called star-shaped, which means kind of a little peak of sediment for the most part, and the slopes of the decline away from the peaks is in a whole variety of different directions. So that indicates currents moving back and forth in different directions on
Okay,
the
well,
seafloor.
in terms of distance, I'm
Patty,
pretty
thank you. That
happy
was
with
really,
how
really
far
helpful.
away I am from
So what do
P2.
you think
Yeah,
may have
you're probably gonna
caused
need a 5 to 10
the
meter move just to get to the,
shapes that we
things
saw
that
at the
feel like
beginning
this
of the
setup.
dive,
Yeah,
where
okay. So I'd
they
say
almost
as far
looked
as P2 is from the target, we do a
mound-like?
ship move
So they
back.
didn't have these
Okay.
same pointy
Around
centers,
From the
13
one-
meters or
but
From the
nor
one
were they
he's
simply
looking at right now, it's
longitudinal
15
ripples.
meters.
Okay. All right, yeah. And that sounds like a good ship move.
Mound-like.
Yeah, they actually looked like they were sort of, like a patchwork.
Bridge nav.
patchwork.
Yeah, I'll have to try to get you a picture later, and you can tell me what you think you
Hey,
saw.
we got a
See.
15-meter move that's 15 meters
If they had the
at
general shape
070
of sort of
degrees,
star
0.2
dunes
knots.
Nope.
that are smoothed over.
Yeah, they don't look. They didn't look like this.
Good copy.
Okay, well, have to see a picture later then.
Awesome. I will send it to you at some point in time.
This is Bob Stern. I think these dunes are much more active. Those, I think, were a little more inactive, so
The other
they
one is good
kind of
partial
sloughed
on
off.
those
These
little
are
dunes.
sharp. They're
Coming in.
they're forming right now. You can almost see the grains
Holding.
moving.
Thanks, Bob.
Is this the best imagery you've ever collected, Dan?
Sure is.
I think so.
Lots of little burrows, huh?
Okay. Sounds like
Okay,
good.
pilots, I think we're good to carry on if you
Get
are.
up right there on
Yeah.
you.
All right, you can go wide video.
Zooming up.
Feel like you're moving, co-pilot?
Not quite yet.
A couple more
No,
crinoids
it's
in
hard to
view.
tell 'cause I can't see the bottom.
These
Yeah, you should
stalked
start hitting any
crinoids.
moment now.
And we're getting a bit more
There you go.
rocks here. Can we, let's take a look at this outcrop, please.
Sure.
Or whatever
Rock.
it is.
I was going to say rock might be a
Yeah.
There's
a
lot
strong term
there's
for
a-
these.
Watch it. There's a lot of really larger ones up ahead too.
Excellent.
Oh, great.
We'll start with this one that way for serious.
Definitely, excuse me, this is Patty again in Hawaii ECC. Yeah, definitely a strong term for rocks for these in the,
See a tall rock off in the
the
distance.
sonar.
On both
On
sides now.
Green Tree or Cameron Tree, there are very pronounced returns just in front of the ROV. So maybe lots more rock, unless the scale is real small.
Okay, I want to just do a zoom on these rocks video.
Zooming in.
I'll move on to the ones in front.
Holding.
Oh man, this is not a pretty rock.
Are the projections on the top of it, like the lighter colored projections, are they a thing or are they just part of this? So what are these rocks?
Zoom
I
in.
mean, I'm confused by these rocks.
Barnacly
Holding.
coming down.
Patty, I missed what you said. What do you think these are?
You mean the rocks?
Yeah.
I think they're entirely covered with things that used to be alive.
We think it's a bio rock. But I mean, it does,
Okay, back to
you know, I'm hesitant to even say what it might be because honestly, I don't know. I mean, could it be oxides?
Yeah,
okay. Let's go
I
ahead.
agree with you,
No.
Deb. There just is no way to tell
Yeah.
what the substrate is
Right.
beneath all of that goo and
Right.
sediment.
You'd really have to basically take a sample of this to try to figure out what it was what it once was before it became part of this. However,
There we
look
go.
at this, Patty.
Whoa.
This
Yeah, on the
looks,
bottom left there.
I
these
feel like serious and stuff.
these
The
look
structure
like
that you're
old.
looking at sure looks like a chimney.
Yep.
to me.
Definitely.
Yep, these look like old
Definitely.
chimneys.
Should be close to it.
Good, so maybe my
It does.
oxide wasn't so far off
There should be
after
a
all.
stop.
Okay.
And there's
Oh,
a-
brilliant.
So we
There's
should
a
just be able
fish
to
down
come
there
up.
to the left.
Yep, we got it,
Alright.
Patty.
Bunch of
There's a
little
couple
fish
fish around here.
We can start with the fish since they're mobile.
Well, look at
Let's
that.
go in on the
So
black
we
ones.
have
Zoom in.
randomly run into an extinct chimney structure.
Holding.
Not randomly, we found
Not
out, sorry.
randomly.
So it
but,
looks like another one of those codlings, perhaps. Another tubed anemone or cereanthid.
Coming up to it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm really moving forward anymore.
That's good.
A stalked crinoid.
Okay, I want to go wide video.
Zooming up.
And will you set my
Look at
sonar
that.
in a bit? So we can
Now,
see
what's
around
interesting
me?
to me on this, Diva, is that there doesn't appear to be a
20
ton of
good?
biology
Sure.
that's utilizing this structure
With that said,
Maybe
there's
I'm wrong.
another
Oh.
structure behind
that might have a whole
There's
bunch more stuff.
definitely a structure
that looks
behind.
like, yeah.
Oh, I think we get to go on a tour of extinct chimneys. This is
There's gonna be quite a
great.
few.
But
It looks
these,
like a
but
hair.
okay, so let's talk about geology for a bit.
Yeah.
So these chimneys are obviously not the same chimneys we get, for instance, what we had on dive 11, correct?
I mean,
what,
I would assume so.
What could you tell us what the main
No.
differences would be? I mean, they look completely different, so I'm
But
going to
that's-
guess their composition is completely different.
Well,
Does
I
it
mean,
wanna zoom
it
in
may
on the
it may
face
be,
of
it may not. As we have been
Zooming
talking
in.
about before, the morphology of the chimneys, the form of the chimneys, can be dependent on a number of
Holding.
factors. So, from looking just at the chimney,
Bob.
yep.
This is Bob Emily.
Go for it, Bob.
Maybe oxide chimneys.
So, iron oxide chimneys.
Yes.
Now,
The
are,
point is, this water would have come out at a much lower temperature. This is not going to be 330
Okay,
degree
go
water.
on.
right? These are probably
Boiling temperature is so low here.
Wood.
so these are probably lower
Yeah, I
temperature
agree
chimneys.
with
I have
Bob
to be really
Emily and
careful here
Bob
without
Stern.
spoiling cracks.
these are low temperature
Yeah.
chimneys.
for visibility.
You're about to.
When they
set
were
your mind
active.
to it up
We
there.
saw some of these on the other wall that were active, I believe.
This is
It's
awesome.
interesting to see them over here. We didn't see that. That one looks like might have been recently active, or maybe still seeping something.
On what part of it? We can zoom in. On the top?
Well, yeah, well, it's later, right? I don't know.
Yep.
It's not really, but it certainly looks like a different coloration. It might be younger.
Well, let's zoom in on it and take a look. Pilot, could we try to zoom in on the lighter part on the right, so the tallest piece?
Yeah, we were just zoomed in on that a second ago.
It's certainly a smoother surface. There also are, I think, a lot more of them behind this structure.
Yes, there are.
In front of
Yeah,
the
you can zoom
ROV.
in.
Zooming in.
The great thing is this is a shallow dive. We have lots of
Hold on.
time, so we're going to take our time imaging this one, and then we'll go move on to the next.
I'll try to work my way up it now.
Oh, Tara Harmer-Luke is saying that there was a beehive structure, which I think was to the left of where we are right
No,
now.
I think she means this.
Oh, this? I thought she meant the other one. That's okay. We can go look anyways.
Okay, go what?
Zooming out. Full wide.
I think maybe she meant the small structure that's just to the left.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Bottom of larger one.
Yep.
This one doesn't look active on the top.
No, I don't think so.
Could it be diffuse flow
So
coming
next
out
one
that's
looks
creating that
look right about
looking
15
surface?
meters. Well, there's a little one at 10.
I mean, I don't think we saw any indication of diffuse flow when we zoomed in.
Just so you kind of have your
I
surroundings.
think you'd see some, well, maybe you'd see some shear, some
Yeah.
refraction on near the chimney if it was any warm water. But on the other hand, it's pretty warm in here to begin with, the ambient water. So when it might
What
take
angle
more
are you
flow
thinking
to
about
see
coming
that.
in there?
Not sure.
Yeah, the ambient
So I don't
temperature
want to
here
get
is
the water
actually
down.
14 and a half
Seriously.
degrees C. Could we
Might
zoom
be
in?
better to come in on the right
Pilot,
side
could we
of
zoom
it.
in on that little beehive
Seriously,
chimney,
on
like
the right.
just right in the middle?
Sure.
Or are you moving? You haven't seen anything that looks like diffuse flow, have you?
I think there might be, if you put a pressure probe in that, you might see a slight anomaly, but you probably don't want to do that. So it's pretty fragile stuff. But
Yeah, and so for those of you who are following along, and for our shore-based scientists, we do have a high-temperature probe on the vehicle, but I think in this case, without any real indications that there's, biology or something living on here, I don't know that we need to try to
No.
aim. I don't want to damage this just for the sake of
Yeah.
trying to get a temperature reading on it. So for once,
Okay.
No, I
I'm not
agree.
going
I
to
think
say that we should poke it.
Let's go in the
it's
center.
not something, if you see something up ahead,
Exactly.
it's worth trying. It is very fragile. If you start poking at it, it might collapse.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful to know. So we will try our best not to run into
No,
this.
okay.
Look at that. What a beautiful, just beautiful textures on these.
And there's so much stuff in the water column.
I feel like we kicked up a lot of that stuff, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Can we zoom in a bit on that thing?
Which thing?
What thing?
The thing that looks like a little beehive?
Okay,
It looks like
what?
a head on a neck or
Shooting
something.
past too.
Yeah, we had
Boy.
some pretty good zooms on it. But yes, Patty?
Looks like there was a fish wiggling its tail just below and to the right of the beehive chimney structure, trying
It's
to
right there in
hide
the middle of the screen right now.
away from the ROV, I guess.
Pilot, so when you've got enough
No, there's a fish
video,
now. It's at the bottom.
The fish
yeah, so we
just
saw
disappeared.
codling here
Yeah.
before.
Oh, look at that. We just keep finding interesting stuff when we look around here.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. There's
Oh, there he is.
fish.
He's back, yeah. There's two of them.
Go
There's
with
one in
you?
the middle, too. Zooming in.
So are there some fish to zoom in on? Oh, yes, there are.
Oh, he's
It's
gone.
gone.
Oh. Did they just sneak into a crack?
Okay. Go what again?
Zooming out.
Well, that was kind of sad.
What?
Those fish did not want to be harassed by us. Do we want to try to move around and look at the next set of chimneys?
yes, that is exactly what I was going to suggest.
Okay. Brian, what are you looking at?
Okay, so,
There was a fish
So
off to the right.
Mark
Yeah.
this one and head back there and get zoomed in there.
so
Yeah,
do you-
one
would
on the
you
lower
rather
right, it
sort
was a
of the
different
ship to the
species.
right or the left, or do you just, how do you want to play
Keep
this one?
the ship still for now.
Well, the only thing I'm worried about is Sirius getting dragged.
All right, so we're going to wait here a moment while the ROV pilots
some
figure
tether.
out
At 60.
their location and
Yeah.
Sirius's location, and then I think they're going to take us to the next set of chimneys behind this.
You're gonna get at the edge of my viz, so we might, I don't know, do a short.
Even
one
extinct
towards the
hydrothermal chimneys of any type make me happy.
If you want to get
Agreed.
Yeah. Can't even see anything though.
Then we might just want to continue on our heading, and that'll put us near, yeah, 7 will
Does
put,
anybody know what the boiling temperature of water under
Do you set
30
my
bars
center back
is?
to low?
yeah.
It's hard to keep up with it there.
Well, it's about
How tall are these
yeah,
guys?
we're Diamante.
It's like
We
2
were in
meters. We're not very tall.
Look
at
at all
all.
the fishies in the Sirius camera.
boiling temperature
It's
was
the ones that we've seen
242
right now.
degrees C.
So it's unlikely the tether's gonna get over them if you go to the
But
right.
these were
and stay
presumably lower
behind
temperature than that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Well,
that
what
would,
about-
that'd mean
what
that
are
would
we
just line
now?
us up for another
We're
exact
at
same
330 meters,
070 move.
Yeah, so it'd be
So that
similar.
sounds good to me.
so we could get up possibly to 240 degrees C here.
With the
My
sonar.
visibility is basically nothing now.
Yeah, I believe that was about the depth that we saw the black smokers over at Diamante, at 345 meters or something like that, and you could actually see the boiling, like you actually see the flashing on the chimneys, and that's what it was measured there actually, where it was flashing. So, and that's what is predicted at that depth.
And Bob, that is one of the more shallow high temperature systems ever found. Is that correct?
I would certainly want to. I don't know for sure if that's the shallowest black smoker system, but it certainly is among the world's shallowest. If I don't know of any other that were shallower than that, but this one, that's why this one up at shallow depth here is interesting because it
just got absolutely
was
terrible.
giving. I don't remember what the temperature was, but it was really shallow. But it's not going to happen today. But it's certainly this whole volcano is doing a variety of things. In one place very shallow, it's producing much higher temperature, probably because that was maybe the most recent eruptive area.
Mm-hmm.
This caldera is much older, and so it's not the hydrothermal systems aren't quite as high temperature, perhaps.
Okay, you're starting.
And actually, Bob Embley, I don't think we've had you introduce yourself today yet. Would you mind doing so?
On the bottom in here.
Sure, I'm Bob Embley. I'm at Pacific Marine Environmental Lab at NOAA, and I'm a marine geologist, geophysicist. Worked in hydrothermal vents for many years, and was on several expeditions in Mariana Arc in the past,
Yeah.
where we found a number of very
A meter up, so
exciting
it's
different kinds of hydrothermal systems.
just
And this is one of the varieties that we see is this low temperature venting environment that we're seeing here in the caldera today. Maybe Bob Stern might say something about when when the last eruption of Esmeralda might have been? Is there information about that, Bob?
It's getting worse.
Yeah.
Bob Stern,
Maybe he's not.
are you
there
on?
now.
I think,
Whoop.
Hold on just a second, actually.
Yeah.
I guess if the current's going crazy, Sirius
Yeah, well,
is probably moving,
So
a bit
I
too.
should mention, I think, for the shore-based scientists and for those of us
Negative.
who are following along,
Negative?
we've evidently
Yeah,
kicked up
Bridge
just a
asked
ton of
about
dust. So I think,
Yeah, it looks
It's
like
not us.
my heading is definitely
oh
getting
really?
pushed around,
So we're
but
just
it looks
gonna
like
hang
you're
out for here for a
definitely
while and
you're
see what we
moving
can
to,
see, do, hold.
lateraling towards your starboard.
No, that
We will
must be-
tell you what we
still
know
have these,
as soon as we know it.
Okay.
If you look at my screen, they're my beacon.
I think you're heading.
I'm
might be
back.
getting
Was there a
turned,
question?
Copilot, because you're
There
down at
was
60
Bob.
right now.
Can you,
Yeah.
Bob Embley? Can you repeat your question for Bob Stern?
This is pilot.
That's definitely current.
Oh, yes, Bob. I was just trying to remember what's the estimate of the last eruption that Esmeralda was?
Go ahead,
There have been
workshop.
4 known eruptions since 1944.
Watch lead.
So the famous story
Yeah,
is
that's-
that Harry Hess,
Copilot, if you want.
during the invasion of
The
Saipan,
current's
everyone
just
was
picked up a
looking
lot,
at the
and
paddle,
visibility has gone to
and he
nothing,
was
so I'm
looking
just
off the
waiting
other
here,
side of the ship at the eruption of Esmeralda.
in case you're wondering what's going on.
So was that
Copy
an
that,
eruption that
workshop. I'd
actually
say try and
produced
get you as soon as you
volcanic
can, or
material,
page it.
Bob, or was it a degassing event, or did he describe it?
It's interesting because you haven't.
All of
been
these
using the
reports
winch
are based
much.
on what they call sulfur boils
What's
at
going
the
on with the
surface.
winch?
So I think when they get a
Sure,
strong
stand by just a
eruption
second,
below the
please.
Roland
thermocline,
just
it'll
reported
bust
that
through.
he heard a loud,
I mean,
or large,
maybe
loud
something like
sound
that
by the
happened
block,
at Southwest Rota 1, but it's 200
and,
meters deeper,
he's
so
looking for,
probably would take a lot
Jim.
more to bust through the thermocline there than here. And we have that, remember that shallow pit that you found, or Doris Steuben found at 100 meters? That'd be really easy to reach the surface. But no, I don't think there's any
Yeah, am I still
volcanic
in your
material that
view?
actually came. It's these sulfur
yeah,
boils.
just barely.
Okay. What
Right.
am I,
So maybe
trying to say?
maybe it was at that 100-meter site. That's
Okay.
probably a good possibility because it's a little cone there.
Much worse.
So have you been pushing out at
And
all,
Bob
or-
Stern,
No.
could you?
I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
lose those
yeah.
enemies,
It just
but,
seems to be coming from all
is
over this
everything in my sonar
volcano.
now?
It's just
no.
a bubbling
Negative.
pot of magma.
Bob Stern, could you identify yourself?
My heading's going.
That this whole Mariana
Looks like
Arc,
my
which is sort of an
heading to you is
underwater
around
equivalent of,
due east.
for instance, the Cascade Volcanic Arc in Oregon, Washington, Northern California, the geologic history is relatively very unknown. We can go here and look at what's at the bottom, look at the life there. We can look at the rocks at the recent volcanic
you're sitting down,
results of recent volcanic events. But we have really very little
it's-
geologic history of any of these volcanoes, such as you have on land, where you can go and look at the rocks that have been erupted over the last 100, 200,000 years or more,
So you must.
and construct an actual
He's
geologic
getting
history of a
yours right
volcano.
now.
That's only been done in a few cases here, where there's sufficient exposure, and there's been actual dives that were able to collect a number of samples.
Get down around 15.
And so that if we're really,
He's just trying to stay on
we're
top
still
of each
still
other,
groping in the
so
dark because we have so little information about
Come down
about
to
the history of these volcanoes.
1-8 copy.
Well, this part of the arc is particularly interesting because it's maybe, 60 kilometers away to northwest Rota 1, which was erupting up until a couple years ago, and you guys found.
Here, I'm gonna
And then
turn
this
the
is
board
not far
starboard
away.
a little bit,
This
so it's
area,
over
there's no arc going activity until you get way south of Tracy, basically down by the spreading center. So this is sort of a particularly interesting hot spot in the
I'd say
Marianas,
let's move a little
Esmeralda
a
and
little
northwest
closer to
Rota 1.
D2.
Okay.
So
Which is
Then there was that big caldera volcano that
7 roughly.
just to the south of here, perhaps 50 miles, called West Rota,
yeah, that sounds good.
which Bob wrote a fairly big paper on a number of years
5
ago.
meters, 10 meters.
That described, that was one of the few places where we have some geologic
Okay.
history,
Hold on.
and I believe that in that case, was it about 40,000 years ago, it produced a very large eruption. Possibly it was an island at the time, but it is now a
Jim
underwater
just went and
caldera
looked at
that's
the block and he said it looks
about 5 miles long.
Due to
So
visibility, we're going to abort.
So it's a very interesting place, and it's one of those few areas where there's sufficient exposure of older rocks that you can actually develop the history of the volcano, of another submarine volcano. And so,
So that means
anyway, every time we come out to the Ark here, we try to gather more information about this, but it's really only these brief views we have when we make these dives that only are hours long, or maybe in some cases longer, but there's still very brief views of what we need to know about these volcanoes.
Then just drive to the north, and that should string me out on the current.
This one's particularly interesting because it's so shallow,
Sirius originally came
so
to starboard
close
to find
to Tinian and Saipan.
To turn.
So you have to go
it could be instrumented
the other
without
way.
too much
Have to do a
trouble.
positive turn, yeah.
It's basically a natural laboratory waiting for somebody to come in and do something interesting with it. Sort of the axial seamount of the Marianas.
So let's see. You start coming up.
Right. Well, we don't really have.
Just get to an altitude of maybe.
For instance, under this one or under other ones along the Ark,
Camilla, watch these.
we don't really know if there's magma underneath at some relatively shallow depth still. We think there is because the hydrothermal systems are still extracting heat,
You just come up.
but we don't know, and so geophysical methods could tell us that, but there just hasn't been any resources to do that sort of thing. Certainly instrumenting in one of these volcanoes would be something that would be really great to do in the future, such as exists on the coast of Oregon here, where they've instrumented a volcano on the mid-ocean ridge, and has had 3 eruptions in the last 20 years. So certainly one of these volcanoes would be really great to be looked at in much greater detail.
Hey guys, I need to break in for a second. So this is Deb on the ship,
Oh, serious?
and we're going to have to abort this dive.
yes.
As you probably have noticed, it's been exceptionally murky, and they really can't see anything anymore.
You're still coming up.
So we're going to be pulling the
my
ROV
altitude's
back
good.
off the bottom, and stay tuned for what we're going to do
Okay, turning to
next.
starboard.
But this is likely not
This is not the end.
end of the dive.
No.
So we're just going to take a little break.
Right. We need to let the
Altitude
pilots and navigators move out of this situation before we can make sure we know what we're doing for the next step.
Yes. But
Stay tuned.
there will likely be more to
can we
this dive
comment?
later.
Yeah, so shore-based scientists don't go anywhere.
Delta's 19.
Can I make a comment?
How are we looking at?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Going to start driving under Sirius soon.
So this murkiness, as we approach these extinct hydrothermal
Okay.
fields,
I'll keep backing up.
it looks like we're getting close to something that's really pumping out, and we're not going to get any closer to it. But that's my guess what's going on.
Okay, you're coming under.
We can ask
Good.
the pilots after they're
Sirius,
done
just jump down
pulling
below
the vehicles what they felt like they were seeing. So we'll check with them to see what they thought the situation on the
Say again,
seafloor
Kyle?
was, and try to get an answer for you about whether it was currents or whether it was
Head
something
out.
else.
Okay, keep coming up.
Okay, since
Okay, well, that's
auto
just my
head out,
comment.
my
Okay,
heading
I
thanks.
think
is
I
230.
think, and Bob Embley and you
Okay,
would
good.
probably know better
I
than the
believe we're
pilots
stretched out.
about
You
this.
can stop
I mean,
there.
this murkiness increased as we started to see the
33
hydrothermal
meters
chimneys.
altitude.
I think probably that's what's going on.
And it's hard to say. I don't know. Maybe was it also some material that was stirred up? Maybe I'm not sure. But yeah, maybe there are currents driving these big sort of clouds around the caldera at certain times of the day, and I just don't know. But yeah, I mean, certainly that we're approaching those
There
other
we are,
ones
tether stretched out.
could be indicative, but it's hard to say.
I mean, the other comment I'd make is that I noticed the currents seemed to get stronger as we approached the chimney
Okay, push
because
I'll
those
push
dunes
out at
got
about,
sharper.
40.
Yeah, it looks like
So
they're just gonna
that would be
slap
the
out
other
right
thing
there.
I'd add, but we'll never know.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right, we look good over here on sonar and tether cam, and in high pack.
Yeah. Delta is
So for
3
those of you who are
from
following
here.
along, it was a very interesting dive
So
here
we're
on
stable.
this
We can,
Esmeralda Bank crater. We saw a
discuss the
number
next
of
option.
interesting
Okay.
pieces of biology. We just walked
Copy
into
that.
an extinct hydrothermal chimney, but basically the conditions on the bottom of the crater were just a little too much for the
Yeah,
ROV.
backup was
So
originally
we're going
set.
to come off the bottom here, and hopefully
far
we're
to the
going to be
northeast.
moving to another site.
Over 1.5 kilometers.
As we come up and out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're at 3:30 right now. So we're gonna come up, and the shallowest it gets is.
Hey, Nav, this is Watch Lead. I don't think that's where we want to go.
Okay, they're saying that they might want to change it. Okay.
Well,
you have
Okay.
a-
We'll wait here.
Do you have? Are you looking at that point to the east?
I guess we can come up slowly, co-pilot.
Copy that.
I may
the
have just
only
been.
points that
All
I
in.
were given that were backup were these 2 points to the northeast, to the
Yeah,
northwest. I'm
to the
sorry.
northwest. I don't think that's where we want to go.
Yeah, just come up at about 50.
There was a
We'll
point.
get at altitude
There was a
of
point over
100
to the
or so.
northeast
I don't think there's any way
on
to move.
the
It's not
eastern
like
wall
that.
of the crater that we wanted
Copy
to
that.
go to
Coming
if
up,
this
15.
happened, and I apologize if you didn't get it.
Okay.
So let me go try to figure out who has those coordinates.
Okay. It looks like my waypoints B and C backups are exactly the same.
Right, those were on the northwest. They were a slope, right?
I
Like-
don't know. B is the exact same as C, so I don't know where you meant to.
Oh, yeah. So last night we came across what we thought was a potential hydrothermal hit on the east side of
Okay.
the crater.
Yeah, if you can just give us the waypoint.
I'm going to go
and then
find
we can-
Lindsay right now. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, I'm coming up at 1.5.
Sounds good. Delta's 10. Keep pushing out and coming up. We'll just get to maybe an altitude of 100 and then wait there for a word.
Copy that. 100.
From what they were telling me, it's over in the east,
So that'll be about 184 meters depth.
northeast. That's all I can really give you right now. So.
Will you slow for
Slowing.
a minute? Trying to catch up.
Do you want me to check out the EK60 again, or does it really matter?
I don't think it'll get worse than it was down there.
Can't get much worse.
So that was dive 19, and then the next shift is going to do dive 20.
I guess. Are we gonna? How does that work?
Actually, I think technically, if there had been talk of coming up on deck and doing it again, then we would have had 2 dives in one day.
Andy, how do I cover this on the CTD? On the do I hit ascent or?
Just leave it on bottom.
Okay.
Okay, Delta's 3 now. I'll start slowing. You can start speeding up again.
Copy that. Speeding up.
Pilot, do you have a moment, or are you super busy?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When we were talking about going over this point that's over to the northeast, which actually Brian's trying to figure out right now, and if not, we're looking for Lindsay. Oh,
Okay.
there's Lindsay. Good. The question was whether we could just pull it up to like 50 meters and then move it along with the ship.
Is it still inside the...
No,
50
it's on.
meters depth.
Yeah, 50 meters depth.
Yeah.
And then, because Jim seemed to think that was. Oh, here he is. Never mind. I'm going to talk to Jim.
Okay, but yes, I think towing around at
Okay, perfect,
50
thank
or
you.
100 meters is good. Okay, Delta's 5. Altitude's 62. Looking good.
Sure, we'll do. As soon as they tell me.
Video, that was the best video
Some
work I've ever seen.
Amazing imagery. Could really feel the sediment particles.
Actually, there were a few good ones in there. It was the currents just kept swirling
Yeah.
around, so it would clear for a second, but then
It was nice work getting a better view at D2, and it made a big
Yeah.
difference.
that was important. We couldn't have really proceeded much more without that.
Yeah, it was really awesome how you could just see the rectangular shape of D2.
Yeah.
Okay,
That
we got
one F light.
good
really was-
visual on all three cameras. We're on, got D2 on sonar, Delta 7.
Yeah, so another 10 meters should put us 100 meters over the bottom. Well, at least me.
Okay.
Okay, slowing down a little bit.
Okay.
That should be 100 meters over the bottom.
All right.
Just at the edge of my altimeter.
That was pretty advanced naving and co-piloting there.
That was good co-pilot too. On
That was a lot of fun.
couldn't even see it. That was pretty good. Go ahead.
Be nice to have a strobe on a relay, maybe, that we could turn on, like an aft
Okay.
strobe
Yeah. Sounds good.
on D2. I mean, it was fine. We could see it in the sonar.
Yeah. Imagine doing that if it were all rocky.
Yeah.
Actually, it got, even those spires there got a little.
Yeah, that'd be kind of tricky even and clear. With the multi-beam, we'd see everything.
Yeah.
They really make a huge difference.
Hey, shore-based scientists, just in case you were wondering why you haven't heard from us in a while, we are just trying to figure out the location of where we're going to move to next. So just hang on, and we will get back to you ASAP.
Thanks, Deb. We're hanging on.
Excellent. So right now, the plan that we have, which is subject to change,
Yeah, I got you. What's the label?
is going to be that we're going to pull
Okay,
the ROV
they were
up
the
to a
exact
depth
same
of
as
about
C.
50 meters, and then
Okay,
we're going to
great,
move
thanks.
over to the east wall
Got it.
of this
Thank you.
crater. And we're going to drop down and look for a target that may or may not be a small hydrothermal plume. So that's what we're going to try for. We mapped it in the EK60 sonar last night. Hey, video, this is Watch Lead.
Go ahead, watch lead.
Could you put MB Proc, is it 3 or 2? Which one?
3.
On the stream 2 for a moment?
Done.
Yep, sorry. Thank you. All right, so shore-based scientists, we're going to change stream 2 to the map. And actually, Lindsay, could you zoom us out for context? So as we talked about on the science call this morning, we started with this dive in the crater, and we had been moving along this track. I don't think we actually made it to the ridge. I think we were pretty much right about there when we needed to, maybe just a little bit past that when we needed to pull up. And what we're going to do next, most likely, we need to get final approval from the pilots, but what we believe we're going to be doing is pulling up and moving over to this point on the east that's blue. It's a pretty shallow site. It's just about 250 meters, which is the limits that we like to work with with the D2. And so what we're going to do is kind of drop near that and try to explore that and see if it really is a hydrothermal vent or some other kind of diffuse
what's
venting.
the highest peak there?
And
what do we need to clear?
once we've wandered around there for a while, we will then figure out what the next step is. So how does that sound to everybody?
Sounds okay. This is Bob. How long will that take?
I don't know yet. I will ask them when they are set up and ready to go.
I mean, the highest 100 meters. So I mean, it's probably 60.
Okay.
So let me count it here.
Sounds good to me.
Any other questions?
Yeah, sounds good to me also.
Yeah.
Right now, we're thinking it might be about an hour and a half, but that is absolutely just an estimate, and we will get you a better number very soon.
Peak is 100.
Not only on the telecom, but we will also put it on the event log.
And I don't know if it's that one or if it's this one over here. So I'm going to check that right now.
Let's come up.
So what should we pay attention to in order to see when we should come back?
The event log, probably. But I can also send an email out to everybody, if that would be helpful.
Easing her into it.
Yeah.
No, I'll just check the event log. That's easy.
Okay. Patty, did you have a question? Someone else?
No question.
Oh, okay.
How fast do you want to come up?
I'm sorry, did somebody else speak?
I just
Come up a
beeped
little
in.
quicker than that.
I just beeped in. It's Shirley. I didn't see the answer to Kara's question on when we would, what's the estimate for the move duration.
We don't know yet. We are in the process of figuring that out. So we're at the moment doing a wild guesstimate of an hour and a half. But we need to hear that from the pilots.
Okay, gotcha.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We will get back to you as soon as we know more.
Coming up.
Go ahead. Copy that. I'm all set, survey. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Let's climb a mountain.
Yeah.
Go over it.
It's coming up. Think the GoPro's still running?
No.
Okay. Okay, pilots. It looks like if we're going to get to this waypoint, we're going to cross over. If we take a northeastern approach, the shallowest we'll hit is 160. We're going to head to here. Back up waypoint 1. Okay. Let's come up to... And if you want me to start moving it, we're going to have to go in the single instead. We're just going to have to come slightly northeast. We're not going to go directly east because it's up here. But I want to go around this point.
Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna probably put in some laterals and swing around.
Okay, well then I'll just go ahead and put in a 1,000-meter move right now.
Okay.
And what do you feel comfortable at? 0.5?
No, don't put in 1,000 yet. Put in like up to here because we're not clear 160 yet. It should be by the time we get there, but just in case. See what I mean?
Okay, well then in that case, yeah, I'll just go right to here.
You put it in a 0.5 to start.
Okay. Bridge nav. Hey, can I get an 850-meter move at 0.075 at 0.5 knots, please?
You're looking for an 850-meter move, bearing 075 at half knot to water.
Good copy. We are going to change our bailout plan as well, and we will get back to you with that new one.
Understood. You're going to be sending the bailout today.
I believe one is the arm. We're going up in the thermocline, so you're going to see it come up. That's just the thermocline. We're ascending.
Pilots, think I'm seeing daylight on the cameras.
Do you want to come higher than 100? Aren't we going to hit something that's at 100? Well, there's a contour here for 160. I mean, we might, if we're going to come up to 100, we might as well come up to 50. I mean, Well, there's a contour here for 160. I mean, we might, if we're going to come up to 100, we might as well come up to 50. I mean, it's up to you guys. I think it's fine to stay at 100, but there are 2 peaks down here. That's 100 right there, and yeah, so these 2 are around 100 or 80 or 90. But I mean, we're gonna go over the middle, but I mean, yeah, that's 100 right there. So. I mean, at this depth, it's like a minute. So, to descend. So. Yeah, I think you're fine. Oh, you got a little bit of lateral on? I mean, that's fine, yeah. At our current speed, it's going to be a while. It's going to be like an hour. But we're going to try to speed up a little bit here. Yep. Yep.
All right, so for those of you who are following along and for our shore-based scientists, I just typed a small novel into the event log, but I just wanted to reiterate. So I believe we're going to be moving up to about 50 meters depth. We had to abort our dive in the crater because the currents just picked up and would not die down.
Yeah,
so the visibility basically went to 0 and we needed to get out of there. We're going to pull up to about 50 meters, and we're going to move the ship and Sirius and D2 over to our next site, which is about a nautical mile away. At the most, it should take about 2 hours. We're going to get an update on that, hopefully in the next 15 minutes or so. But we're going to wait until everybody is settled before we ask for that estimate. So hang on with us. Either check the event log, or I will actually send an email when I know what the estimated time on bottom again is. And thanks for your patience.
Lower one looks completely okay. What about our uppers? You can use the main Zeus too. Yeah, those aren't even moving. Yeah, go ahead. I can do it, but
see what I can do. I'm gonna push all kinds of knobs.
are you calling nav bridge? Yeah, you're go to do that. Alright, the bridge is going to adjust its heading into the direction of travel. Go ahead, Drylab. Wait, hold on. What are you talking about? Oh, you have backup waypoint 1. You don't have backup waypoint 2. Okay. This guy. Okay. Alright, I got it. I don't think we've done more than a half knot with D2. I know other operations do a lot quicker than that, and actually I don't really have a problem with doing. Well, it'll depend on how the swing arms look, but really, I mean, when the current's like 3/4 of a knot or half knot, and we're pushing dead into it, it's pretty much the same thing. So I don't know. I wouldn't have a problem going a knot probably. But we'll have to see. I think we can just gradually increase.